As we've been reporting this morning, Maine is now sending an emergency team to help Helene recovery efforts in North Carolina. Right now, more than 200 people have died and hundreds more are missing. Now, one of the hardest places hit the city of Asheville. Meteorologist Ingrid Allsteadt was in the city directly after Helene swept through. First of all, Ingrid, thanks for joining us. How are you and your family doing?
We are safe and together. Much better than a lot of folks in Western North Carolina.
When we look at the images, whether it's a photo or video, it's incredible. I know I've covered so many, like an earthquake, aftermaths of a tornado, all these things. But until you see it firsthand, it's really tough to imagine for people unless you're down there looking at it with your two eyes. I mean, talk about what you experienced down there after Helene.
Yeah, so that's my hometown. That's where I was raised. Went to college there, worked in TV news there, and I was there during the storm. And a couple days after, evacuated to the coast. So that's where I am now because we didn't have power or water or cell service or internet or any access to supplies or gas. So thankfully, my family got out. I have 4 young children, including an infant. So we needed to get away from the devastation there. Although we feel guilty because our friends and family are back home. When you grow up in an area and you're used to seeing it and going to those same coffee shops or those same art galleries, and then you see them underwater, it's hard to put into words. But a lot of our community is gone and may never return in some of those spots. Businesses closed forever, unfortunately. Homes swept away along with the loved ones inside. So it's something that we never thought could happen, but it did.
It's mind-boggling, the power of Mother Nature. As we just saw some of the images just a couple of seconds ago of, cars, up on 2 wheels, up against power poles, up against, throwing up, 10 feet up in the air into trees, houses flattened, roads no longer exist. The images are incredible down there.
Yeah, and we're still, as you mentioned before you came to me, in a recovery mode with still folks unaccounted for. It doesn't mean that's a loss of life of those hundreds of people that are gone because we don't have cell service and we don't have a way to communicate and find those people. But it could mean that they're gone. We loaded up the kids and drove to our parents' homes to see if they were okay because there was no way to know if they were okay. There was no way to communicate. And thankfully, everyone in my family is safe. But there are communities that are up on top of a mountain with the roads washed out, and there's no way to get to those people. So people are literally using mules, going on ATVs to go up to those houses, or just hiking up with supplies to check on these people to see if they're okay. It's been a week now. Think about that. What if something happened in your home today? How much food would you have? How much water would you have? How much toilet paper would you have? Maybe not enough to last a week, if you're lucky. I just got an email from my neighborhood association, and there's a volunteer group going to a local apartment building. It's a toilet flushing group. So they're carrying water in so they can flush their toilets because there's no water in Asheville. There's still no water.
Yeah,
the hospital was without water for days.
Yeah, the
OR surgeons were washing their hands with bottled water. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I said some of the things you really take for granted after a while.
Right.
It's tough to even just drive around because a lot of the roads are gone.
Exactly, and that is a big issue still at this time. But in the beginning of the recovery efforts, major interstates were blocked from landslides and fallen trees and floodwaters. If you've ever gone maybe to the Biltmore House in Asheville and traveled from Raleigh into the west, you went on I-40. All lanes were shut down, all lanes. So there was no way for trucks to come in with water or supplies for us. So it was days that we didn't have any help from anyone. My neighbor was nice enough to go down to the river and get buckets of water for us because there's plenty of water in the river, and fill up our toilets so we could flush our toilets. Just an example of the things you have to do to make it right now.
You mentioned your neighbor helping out. We have a team from Maine, an emergency team heading to North Carolina to help out as well. You see people handing out water. You see the Red Cross. I guess talk about how important it is, whether you're from across the country or across the street, to helping each other out to try to make sure everybody's all right.
Yeah, so days later, again, we're a week out. We have gotten some supplies. We have gotten help from the government, which is huge. But I would say money is probably something that's the most needed right now and will be needed in the future for the recovery process, because there's, inches and inches of toxic mud now in people's businesses and homes now that the water has receded, along with, of course, the tree damage. So if people can donate, that would be a huge help to Western North Carolina, and not just today, but to remember us in weeks and months to come.
Yeah, we are partnering with Sinclair Cares and the Salvation Army to raise money for relief efforts. How important is this support from the public too? You just mentioned some of it, but again, we're all in this together. We're all helping our folks down south that need help, our neighbors down there.
Yeah, and it's hard to, like you're saying, it's hard to imagine the gravity of the situation unless you're in it. I fared about as well as you could fare in this storm, and I'm still displaced, and I still don't have water, and I don't know when my children are going to go to school next. I don't know if there's going to be another gas shortage or if the grocery stores are full. There's just so many unknowns. Think about March 2020, that feeling when the COVID-19 pandemic hit and you didn't really know what was going to happen next and who's going to come help you. That's kind of what we're all feeling right now. There's a very high level of anxiety. It's just complete devastation. So as much as people can help, the better.
And of course, you can go to our website, fox23maine.com, and find the latest on our fundraising campaign to help folks down south. Ingrid, thank you so much. And, we're there to support you down there in North Carolina.
We appreciate it.